There are several topics that we discuss in English language curriculum class or ELT class, which are the definition of curriculum, why curriculum in English language teaching is important, curriculum content, process of curriculum design, types of language syllabus, the history of ELT curriculum in Indonesia, and HTSP and 2013 curriculum. The first topic is definition of curriculum. Curriculum is a standard-based sequence of planned experiences where students practice and achieve proficiency in content and applied learning skills. Curriculum is the central guide for all educators as to what is essential for teaching and learning, so that every student has access to rigorous academic experiences. Structure, organization, and consideration in a curriculum are created in order to enhance student learning and facilitate instruction. Curriculum must include the necessary goals, method, materials, and assessment to effectively support instruction and learning. The second topic is why curriculum in English language teaching is important. It's because language-based curriculum provides well-planned content information that is strategically presented to facilitate learning and enrich the language experiences of the students across all subject areas. Beyond language arts, language learning is embedded in all content classes, the arts and physical education. Content and language come together as teachers carefully consider curricular requirement as well as the language demands of lessons. Teachers not only analyze the content material and reading resources to be used but also identify the important speaking, listening, reading, comprehension, and writing skills demanded by each lesson. Classroom teachers then incorporate the techniques to facilitate content and language learning by students. Recess and playground activities are also viewed as important contexts for language learning and practice. The third topic is curriculum content. When selecting content specifically for a curriculum, the developer requires guidelines to ensure that the content is appropriate. The following criteria provide a framework for facilitating the selection of content. They are not presented in order of merit or worth, and not all would be applied equally. Nevertheless, they provide a useful guide for the selection of appropriate content. These criteria are particularly appropriate where a group of curriculum developers must decide upon the appropriate content to reach the needs as stated by the curriculum intent. What we all too frequently find is developers arguing for content inclusion based upon personal preference rather than substantive criteria as discussed below. There is no doubt that the selection of subject content is highly political activity. In that curriculum developers argue, negotiate, debate, and causes each other in attempt to control the content included in the curriculum. Nowhere is the more obvious than in the constitution created in subject syllabus committees which must decide the curriculum and its content for schools. Yet even here the argument for certain content may be prevail if the following selection criteria are employed. Certainly, teachers may apply this criteria to analyze the content of draft syllabus documents when they are released for discussion. The criteria for selecting effective content for a curriculum are: number one, significance, how essential it is to the subject. Number one, validity, how accurate or true it is. Number three, relevance, whether it is worthwhile to society. Number four, utility, how useful the content is to adult functioning. Five, learnability, whether the student can acquire the content. Number six, interest, whether it has interest to learner. The fourth topic is the process of curriculum design. The process of curriculum may be considered as a manipulative strategy. By answering the question of what, when, how, and under what conditions students will learn, curriculum developed must be seen as deliberate, purposeful planning activity that seeks to achieve general and specific intentions. Teachers have an important role in school as curriculum developers as well as the implementers, adapters, and researchers of curricula. School-based curriculum development is the development of a curriculum or an aspect of it by one or more teachers in a school to meet the perceived needs of a school population. Curriculum development is defined as the process of planning, implementing, and evaluating learning opportunities intended to produce desired changes in learners. Curriculum design is concerned with the arrangement of curriculum elements to produce a unified curriculum. Fifth topic is the history of ELT curriculum in Indonesia and KTSP in 2013 curriculum. Curriculum 1947. The first curriculum, which was born during the freedom to use the term leerplan in the Dutch language means plan lesson. At that time, the curriculum in Indonesia is still influenced by the Dutch colonial education system and Japan, so the only forward who never been used before. Plan designation curriculum lesson that 1947 was a replacement for the Dutch colonial education system. Next, curriculum 1952. Plan lesson after 1947 in 1952, the curriculum in Indonesia has improved. In this curriculum, it was named Plan Lesson Unraveling 1952. The curriculum has led to a national education system. More details and syllabus subject is obvious. Curriculum 1964. By the year of 1964, the government retuned the curriculum system in Indonesia. This time it was named Education Plan 1964. Next, Curriculum 1968. Curriculum 1968 is the renewal of curriculum, which does change the structure of the educational curriculum Pancawardana Pancasila, sold into coaching, knowledge-based and special skills. Curriculum 1968 is a manifestation of the change in orientation on the previous curriculum. Curriculum 1975. It emphasized the goal, making education more efficient and effective. Method, materials, and teaching purposes specified in the producer instructional system development. At this time, the technical term lesson units, each unit that is subject lesson plans. Curriculum 1984. A curriculum is a framework for the enhancement and organization of the varied and numerous experiences of students in a school setting and beyond the school. Next, Curriculum 1994. In the Curriculum 1984, the learning process emphasized the theory of learning and less attention to the content of lesson. Meanwhile, Curriculum 1994, created as the completion of Curriculum 1984 and accordance implemented with the Law Number 2 in 1989 about national education system. Next, Curriculum 2004. It is competency-based education emphasizes the ability to be possessed by graduates of an education. Competence is often called a standard of competence is the ability of graduates in general must be mastered. Competence or ability is the main capital of graduates to compete on a global level because competition is happening is the ability of human resources. Therefore, the application of competency-based education is expected to produce graduates who can compete at the global level. The implication of competency-based education are the development of the syllabus and competency-based assessment system. Next, Curriculum 2006. It is a planned set of courses that is presented to teachers to arrange teaching and learning in a certain level of ages. Next, Curriculum 2013. It is a set of instructional activities consisting of several important elements, namely purpose, content, producer, resources, and tool of assessment. It does not only cover the planning of both school and out-of-school activities. Next question. In the period of 1980s up to now, communicative language teaching or CLT has been claimed to be used in teaching English in Indonesia. Why can CLT stand for long period of time? How has CLT developed since then? So, CLT stands for long period of time because the increased demand include many learners who struggle with traditional method, such as grammar translation, which involves the direct translation of sentence after sentence as a way to learn the language. Those methods assume that students aim to master the target language and were willing to study for years before expecting to use the language in real life. However, those assumptions were challenged by adult learners who were busy with work and by school children who were less academically gifted and so could not devote years to learning before they could use the language. Educators realized that to motivate those students, an approach with a more immediate reward was necessary, and they began to use CLT, an approach that emphasized communicative ability and yielded better results. In the period of 1980s up to now, CLT has been claimed to be used in teaching English in Indonesia. Communicative language teaching emerged in 1980s as a response to the growing demand for a language curriculum that would enable learners to use the second language in real-life situations. Previously, foreign language teaching has predominantly had its emphasis on grammatical competence rather than actually focusing on developing students' communication and interaction skills. At the end of 1980s, language thus principally exists to make communication possible. CLT method primarily focus on the interaction during a classroom-based foreign language class or online language learning session, in which students actually produce speech and engage in conversation for most of the classroom time using the target language. The main purpose behind communicative language teaching method is to prepare students to be confident communicators in different real-life contexts. Through repetitive oral practices and student cooperation, in CLT, communication is the end and means of teaching method. Next question. Compare to curricula that have been applied in Indonesia since its Independence Day. Analyze the two curricula and identify similarities and differences between the two curricula. So, the differences between the curriculum 2006 and curriculum 2013 is the learning plan. In the curriculum 2006, the syllabus development is under education units. However, in the curriculum 2013, the development is the central government's authority, except for special subject which is developed by a certain school. Even though the syllabus is from the central government, the teachers still have authority to design lesson plan and develop the materials given for operationalizing in learning. At KTSP, the dominant learning process is cognitive, psychomotor, and affective, whereas in 2013, curriculum, the dominant in the teaching and learning process are affective, psychomotor, and then cognitive. It means in process, student will highlight the affective and psychomotor, while in 2013, curriculum strongly emphasizes balancing between cognitive, psychomotor, and affective. In contrast to the KTSP 2006, at the stage of implementation, tend to focus more on cognitive aspects. In aspects of content standard, the amount of subject at each level in 2013 curriculum is reduced. In standard learning process, significant changes appear on learning approach which conducted. In the beginning, the learning used cognitive and behaviorism approach, and now move to constructivism approach. This will impact on the teacher in the classroom who initially tends to be a source of learning teacher-centered learning, become a student and the environment as a source learning, and it changed in assessment standard. KTSP 2006 then assess using the final assessment without any assessment on the learning process. At this new curriculum, the assessment on learning process will be included. Later, there will be portfolio assessment of student personalities. Next, the similarities. Curriculum 2006 or KTSP and Curriculum 2013 both present text as competency-based items. For the curriculum structure, both in KTSP and in 2013, the government created or designed precisely the Ministry of National Education. Some subjects are still the same as KTSP. There are similarities in the essence of the curriculum. For examples, in a scientific approach which is essentially student-centered, where students seek knowledge instead of receiving knowledge. So, that's all from me. Thank you for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.